Welcome. This is Peter Blood over here, and I'm Annie Patterson, and we're super glad to see all of you and have you here with us tonight. I have to adjust this a little bit better here. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. Well, here we are on our Wednesday Music for Justice series, right, Pete? And Peter's wearing his Hope Changes Everything t-shirt, but it also, the message we always say along with that is hope changes everything, but we got to go out, we got to fight, so we got to stand up for justice. So here we are. Tonight's topic is especially for parents, white parents especially, and white allies who are interested in having some information and some resources about raising children in this world, in this racially unjust world. And so tonight we're just going to start a conversation, and we're going to bring up some things that we think are really important to be talking about, and we're going to sing some songs. We're going to start out with a song here. This is a song by Sarah Purtle, and we think it's a really beautiful song. It's called The Colors of Earth. And this is in our Rise Again songbook. What page is this on, Peter?
This is in the Dignity and Diversity chapter, page 27 in Rise Again.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. And, we hope that tonight will be the beginning of a conversation starter for a lot of people. And we know that there'll be people watching who've already been having this conversation. So here, let's start out with a song called The Colors of Earth. And I'm not going to sing all the verses, but we think that this song does a really great job naming all the beautiful, beautiful colors that we get to be here on this earth with, and how important that is to name those. Tell me the names of the colors of earth, purple of eggplant, the purple of peach, the green and the gray, and the rocks on the beach, the sun on the mountain in the morning. Who can count all the colors of earth? Each color is different, each color is true. We are made of the colors of earth, and I love the colors that made you. When I look in the eyes of my friends, I can see topaz, I can see sky, the green and the gray of the sea rolling by, the dazzling brown river in the morning. Who can count all the colors of earth? Each color is different, each color is true. We are made of the colors of earth, and I love the colors that made you. When I look at the hands of my friends, I can see chestnut, I can see corn, the color of wheat fields in a dappled brown fawn, the rain-kissed black trees in the morning. Who can count of the colors of earth? Each color is different, each color is true. We are made of the colors of earth, and I love the colors that made you. Yeah. Beautiful. So we're going to get right into it here. Welcome to our little house here in Western Massachusetts. It's been very, very hot here for many days, but the rain kind of just came in and gave us a little bit of cool air. But we're just gonna dive in and we're gonna talk a little bit and sing some songs, and hopefully we'll leave you all with some interesting things to think about and talk about, and we'll keep at this. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
You might want to take this off maybe so you can just, no, maybe I'll do the same.
So I ask you a question.
Sure,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So how early do you think it makes sense to start talking with our kids about racism?
Okay. I think it makes sense to start talking about racism before our children can talk. I think that there's some great resources that we're going to talk about tonight about how to do that for different age levels. And, I was an educator for many years, but, I had to do my own work. And I'm still doing it. So is Peter, learning about the kinds of things that we want our children to grow up knowing about so that they can have the kinds of deep and wonderful understanding of all this so we can fight for a better and just world.
So what kinds of things do you think white people need to know in terms of how we were raised in terms of racism? What do we need to know in order to start this work?
I think a lot of us were raised, a lot of white people were raised that it doesn't matter what color you are, we're all the same on the inside. That's a really common thing that was taught to a lot of us. And I think it's still being taught out there. It's nothing new. It's not news, right? But actually, we are different. Our skin tones are different, and they're beautiful. And that's why we love that song by Sarah Pirtle, is those differences make who we are. And I think if we don't acknowledge that, we are not also able to acknowledge that things are not just in this world for people who are black and brown. There's an unjust world, and I think in order to have our children grow up and understand how to be better allies and how to do good in the world, we have to understand that there are differences that we need to work for. So.
And I guess the reason why you said you have to start really early is that systemic racism starts kind of, you might say, poisoning people's ways of thinking and looking at the world at a very, very early age.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of research out there, really important research that's been done, and it shows that children really start to learn the biases. They learn them really. You might think, oh, my child isn't picking any of this up because we don't talk about it that way. We have a really good unbiased household, but actually there's research out there that white children pick this stuff up really easily, much earlier than we realize.
But it sounds like you're also saying that people aren't naturally racist, that they probably would want to think differently if only they hadn't been taught these bad things. So maybe we should sing that song about.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
It's been in our minds a lot.
Yeah, Peter and I were talking about a song that you can, you just can't believe this song was written when it was. It was written in the 50s for the musical South Pacific. And it's called You've Got to Be Carefully Taught. And we thought we would do this tonight because this is really true. We have to be taught how to hate each other. And unfortunately, what happens is we don't always realize that our children are picking this up. And so that's what we're about tonight, is starting this conversation so we can kind of think about that together.
The NASCAR driver, Bubba Wallace, actually alluded to a line from this song in a tweet that he made after he needed to respond to some put-downs given to him. So this is on page 82 in Rise Again, if you're singing along, in the Freedom chapter.
You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are differently made, and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be carefully taught. Oscar Hammerstein, Richard Rogers. There's a YouTube video that Peter found where they're talking about this song. And you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was the what do they call that? We don't call it anymore. I think it was called National Brotherhood Day. Hopefully we've changed the name since then, and they were addressing a gathering of the National Conference of Christians and Jews celebrating National Brotherhood Day, and they talked about how important this song was to their making that musical. It was kind of the heart, in a sense, of the musical for them.
Yeah. Beautiful song. And there's some really great versions of it online.
So I'm wondering if there's anything in your own experience as a parent or a teacher or a friend and neighbor that you would like to share at this point with people.
You know, Peter and I were both really clear when we said, let's have an evening where we talk about our children and how we can raise our children to do the things that we want all of us to be doing and have these conversations. And I think that both of us feel that there were a lot of things we didn't know when we were raising our kids and they were little. But I do know that children can really understand and have different kinds of conversations at different age levels, and that we do need to think about age levels when we're talking with kids. Like, I would never show some of the videos that are out there that are really explicit. I would never show them to young children, but I could still talk with the children about the videos and say, yes, there's some videos of some really bad things that happened, and always bring it back to that fact that we want to make our government listen to the idea that we all need to be treated justly, and that there's a lot of injustice, and that's what we're fighting for. I think children can really understand that, and we get to role model that. But, you know, I think one thing that that I was going to share, I think, you know, it's an experience of sort of waking up and figuring out, you know, I have work to do. And I think Peter and I both know that we have been on this path the last, you know, several years really working for racial justice and trying to do this internal work on ourselves. And one of the things I wanted to share is the beginning of this work for me was about going to my very earliest memories, my very earliest racist memories that I could remember. I'm sure there were more, even earlier, but the earliest one I could remember, I spent time going back to that and thinking about that and talking about it with a friend and sort of looking at the ways that I was really kind of kept in a bubble and things weren't explained to me, things about how the, you know, Black and brown families today, they have to have talks about racism with their children from a really early age, or otherwise their children are going to be in grave danger. So there's things now that I know. For instance, I have a good friend who's raising beautiful, wonderful Black boys, and she is really tough with them, and they have to follow her, you know, the rules of the house. They need to listen to her. They need to do what she says. And, you know, me being this, you know, nice white person coming into their home, I had to learn to really respect that. And I had to kind of go through that process of like, oh, yeah, of course, they have to do what she says. They have to. They really have to. So I think understanding that we really do have differences, that gets us to the next place. That gets us to be able to think about, well, how do we use our privilege to, you know, have these ability to support our friends of color and help make this world better. How can we use our privilege? But we have to really recognize there's differences.
I was thinking about when I remember one time when I actually tried asking my parents in high school about race, and I was trying to make connections with black kids in my high school, and didn't have the slightest idea how to begin, and was kind of being a little bit pushed away because of my own, kind of, I'm sure, way I came across. And when I asked my parents about it, they really didn't have the tools to help me to know how I could make friends with people or make connections with people, I guess is probably a better term. So the interesting thing, though, when we moved to Amherst, Mass., my son was going to 6th grade, and we visited one small school, which we thought he might like to go to. And he said, I'm not going to go to that school. That school is all white, and that's not okay with me. And he actually never had problem in junior high or high school making really good connections with black children in the schools. And so I think that's kind of a sign, I guess. I don't think we necessarily gave him that. I think he learned that on his own to a certain extent.
Well, there's some great resources that we've put below in the in the space under the YouTube video that you can check out, and they're also on our website. One is a book called Raising White Kids, Bringing Up Children in a Racially Unjust America. It's by Jennifer Harvey, and it's a really important book. Jennifer Harvey talks about how unless we really dig in and we have these conversations with our children, they might be able to make friends of color really easily, but those friendships might not last because we really do have to understand how to work on this stuff and how to actually show up for them. So one thing that we were talking about earlier that Peter stepped out for a second, but we were talking about one thing that kids can really understand as they age, as they get older, is this whole idea of microaggressions that show up in the schools. An example might be a teacher might have really low expectations of children from a certain group, or they might compliment a black child on how articulate their English is. I mean, that's what we call a microaggression, because they're assuming that because a person's of color that they're not going to be articulate, or they're not going to have, some of the things that a white child might have. And I think, these are things when a child says, Mom, we're all equal. I think if we're silent, it kind of breeds something. It breeds a lack of capacity to understand what we can do together. So we have a song that we thought we would stick in here that we think also talks about just being able to pick things up and go out and march on the streets. And, maybe what we want to do is start bringing some of our young ones on a march, or our older kids on a march. And Betsy Rose wrote a really great song called We Still Have a Dream, and we thought we'd sing that tonight. We think it's a really great song because it talks about the history of people fighting for liberation. And this is something we all need to educate ourselves around, and maybe our kids don't necessarily want to hear us talking to them, but it's great to be able to have the information in case it does come up. And if you're going to go and take kids to a rally, you certainly want to be able to talk about it. So let's sing this song, We Still Have a Dream by Betsy Rose.
It's on page 81 in Rise Again, if you've got your copy there. In the Freedom chapter in Rise Again.
We still have a dream. We still have a dream. Every step of the way brings on a better day. And the spirit is willing. The journey is long. We got to be strong, 'cause we still have a dream. 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 Every step of the way brings on a better day. And the spirit is willing, and the journey is long. We've got to be strong, 'cause we still have a dream. Hey brother, can your feet still walk? Hey sister, are you ready to talk? Hey children, won't you lead the way? It's time to march again. And these streets have seen a lot of feet over the years. Wars of liberation far away and right here. They've seen our hopes, Lord, they've seen our tears. And it's time to march again. We still have a dream. Every step on the way brings on a better day. And the spirit is willing, and the journey is long. We've got to be strong, 'cause we still have a dream. Believe me when I tell you, we shall not be moved. We haven't come this far to bargain. The bottom line is under our feet, and if you listen, you can hear an earthquake starting. We still have a dream. We still have a dream. Every step of the way brings on a better day. And the spirit is willing, and the journey is long. We've got to be strong. We still have a dream. We've got to be strong, 'cause we still have a dream. All right, thank you, Betsy Rose, for that song. She's done that with choruses of children, and one of the great things is she's simplified it sometimes. So sometimes it's just the chorus without the bridge there, and so I love that about Betsy. She's made a song that, you know, you can add, take away, you can do whatever you want. You can just sing the chorus. That's one thing I thought we would talk a little bit about is when you're singing songs about social justice with our kids and about racial justice with our kids. I think the biggest, most important thing to remember as if you're a white parent or you're a white caregiver and you're singing with your kids, we really need to teach them that we're going to honor the struggle behind a song. So in that case, that was written by Betsy Rose, who happens to be a wonderful white singer-songwriter from California. But there are songs that are justice songs from the civil rights movement that also are maybe black gospel tunes or black spirituals. And in those cases, it's really great to be able to say, you know what, before we sing the song, let's just think about the struggle behind the song and the fact that this song represents a people who have had to struggle for a long time.
So I know we don't have a lot of time tonight, but I wondered if you wanted to give one or two little tidbits from any of the resources that we posted that might be useful for people.
You know, there's so many great things. There's we put on the resource page a wonderful website called We the People, WEE the People. I know I found out about it because our nephew and niece know all about it, and their child is really young, and that is really, really a great site, and it's out of Boston, and they do workshops, and on their website they have resources for parents and for teachers. Yeah, I think one thing that I was reading about, kids know that this is from the We the People side. Kids know bicycles, and it's a really great thing to think about. What do kids know, and how can we talk about, if part of the bicycle isn't working, it's not going to run well, and we can say, there's part of this country that's not working, and it's a big part, and it's a really important part, and it's the part that means that people of color are not treated as fairly as they need to be. And so they can think about, well, what's it like when your bike, if the handlebars aren't on your bike, is it still going to work the same? So that's for the young ones. I think there's just tons of really great resources online, and if you check out some of the ones we've put in there or share them with people. But I know that this is nothing really, it's not something new, we need to have ongoing conversations, and the more we role model it, and the more we think about it with each other, and talking with other parents too, what works for you, and sharing songs that we found out about that are really great to sing with different age groups. Peter and I have been very open about this, but there are definitely songs in Rise Up Singing that are not okay to sing. And we didn't know that when we put them in the book. And so we've put a list on our website of those songs that are associated with blackface minstrels. And they just continue the racism. So no more singing those songs. We're going to think about what we can do, maybe hand out stickers or something. But definitely educating ourselves here, as well as talking about it with you guys.
One of the things that we're doing with the Music Box, which is our online song database, is looking at songs about a specific topic, and we already have a nice page of lots and lots of songs, some from the civil rights movement, some from the anti-apartheid movement, like the song that Annie started out with tonight, and some that are written by European descent artists like Betsy Rose and Malvina Reynolds about the issue of racism. And that can be found at riseupandsing.org/freedom. And that link is actually as part of the resource list. I tried to post the resource list on the chat. For some reason, it doesn't seem to have gone up. But already on the page where we have our live concerts posted, which is riseupandsing.org/live, right on that page at the top is the link to that resource list. So if you go to riseupandsing.org/live, you will find that link to the resource list.
Yeah, I think that some of the things on there are just so helpful. It's really nice to know we're not alone. And, a lot of us have grandchildren now, and we spend time with them. And, we want to talk with our kids about how they're talking with their kids. I think that the messages that our kids get are often really kind of streamlined, and they're more complicated than that. And I think it's okay to say, complicate the messages, especially the one about obeying the law. It's okay for white kids to go to the police. They're taught, go to the police if you're in trouble. But actually, that's not okay for kids of color. And I think it's all right for us to have these difficult conversations, because we get to talk about all the ways that our heroes and sheroes broke the law, like Rosa Parks, like Martin Luther King, who went to jail for justice. And that sometimes that's what's required. And I think we get to talk to our kids about that and say, sometimes that's required when things are not just. And when people are hurt, people are harmed, sometimes that's what's required. So we thought we'd end our time together with a big thank you for you guys for watching. This will be up on YouTube for a while, and we hope it's a good conversation starter. And for those of us who are doing this work full time, we're just always learning, and so Peter and I are really happy to get your emails and your ideas for better songs that are out there to add to our list on our website.
So kind of relating to what we just, Annie was just talking about sometimes needing to take risks. I was hoping maybe in 2 weeks when we're doing our next Music for Justice, we might talk about the difference between being an ally and being a co-conspirator, Annie, and maybe some songs that relate to that, kind of going the extra step of really going out of our way to dismantle racism.
Yeah.
So you can watch, again, on our site, our live, about live concerts, we'll post the themes. But I'm sort of thinking that might be a good topic.
Sounds good.
So this song is in Rise Up Singing. We're going to go back to the old book. It's on page 62 in the Freedom chapter. There's a Freedom chapter in both books, and that's where most of the racism songs are in each book. And there's a few in other places. But this one is the Malvina Reynolds classic, It Isn't Nice.
And thank you again for joining us. And once again, we'll also be doing our family sing on next Monday, every Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have a wonderful group of folks who join us for that from all over the world. And it's been really a joy. But once again, visit our website, riseupandsing.org. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that, because we'd love to get some more subscribers. And again, thanks for being here. It Isn't Nice by Malvina Reynolds. It isn't nice to block the doorway. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways sometimes fail. It isn't nice. It isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. It isn't nice to carry banners, or to sit in on the floor, or to shout our cry for freedom at the hotel or the store. It isn't nice. It isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. We have tried negotiations and 3-person picket line. Mr. Charlie didn't see us. Well, he might as well be blind. Now our new ways aren't so nice when we deal with men of ice. But if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. What about the years of lynching and the shot in Ever's back? Did you say it wasn't proper? Did you stand out on the track? If you were quiet, just like mice, it's time to say that we are nice. 'Cause if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. Oh, it is nice to block the doorway. It is nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice. It isn't nice. Well, thanks for your advice. 'Cause if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. 'Cause if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. We don't. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll be back again with another Music for Justice show in 2 weeks. And we hope to see all you then. It's been great to see you. Thanks for being here with us.